Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who was in Eagle Pass yesterday. Sir, good morning. Thank you for your time. Tuesday night, the president said this, okay? I declared a national emergency on our southern border. I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol. That takes time to move men and women down there. Now, there was an element of the National Guard there, but what do you think accounts for a 95% reduction in a matter of weeks? Is it Mexican cooperation? Is that part of the story that we've overlooked?
It's bottom line, it's Donald J. Trump. And once again, good morning. Thank you for having me. My district has been at the epicenter of this. Texas has been at the epicenter of, we've seen all these things. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to travel with the vice president from Washington. And then what I really appreciate about it is overnight, President Trump's policies work. And they have not just said, all right, we're done. This is just the beginning. And I appreciate the vice president not coming alone. He brought the Secretary of Defense. He brought the Director of National Intelligence. He invited myself there, and as well as the governor of Texas, local officials. This is a whole of government approach. Another takeaway for me, as I was speaking with the Secretary of Defense, Hegseth, he goes, this is phase 1 of phase 4. And I think that is exactly the right approach. Anytime you have an operation, you don't just pop in and pop out. If you want it to be long-term, it has to be sustainable. There has to be phases. And with this being just phase 1, already being successful, shows a lot of the leadership President Trump has done. But Congress has to do, we got to do our part as well. And locally, our mayors and our city councilmen and our commissioners, they have to do their part. It has to be an all-of-government approach.
Congressman, I've been thinking a lot about the Biden administration. And you think of how many times even Joe Biden himself and then Kamala Harris, when she became the switcheroo candidate, they would maintain always that there was nothing else they could do on the border because Congress failed to act when, and they would say President Trump scuttled that deal that everybody was working on about 18 months ago. And then you see results like this, and that was obviously not true. And I don't think we should forget that.
You're 100% right. The last administration, it was always everybody else's fault but their own. And it honestly got to the point, every time the DHS Secretary Mayorkas came down to the border, he made it worse because they would get up there and they would say ridiculous things that everyone knew wasn't truthful, and it would just constantly make it worse. I've seen it overnight get better, but it's not just the numbers going down. I mean, our communities along the border have been ravaged for years. It is going to take years, one, to find these bad actors that are in our country and deport them immediately, but also to heal these communities throughout the border. There's so many different things that we got to get going, and I love President Trump's a whole of government approach. Everyone is going to have to paddle on this one, but it's his leadership that has led us this successful this quickly.
So when you were on the border, this was happening in Washington, D.C. The mayors of 4 major American cities, sanctuary law cities, were facing some tough questions. This is Melanie Stansberry from New Mexico. She's one of these representatives in a border community, and she went off.
It's total absolute. They are not making America safer again, and what they are doing is terrorizing immigrant families. That is what they are doing.
Look, there was 6 hours of this testimony yesterday. On Tuesday night, she was the one who held the sign, "This is not normal." What the mayor said is that crime is actually going down. And if you terrorize our community with threats from ICE and the federal government, you're going to get the opposite result. What do you think of that logic?
Well, Bill, I'm on the border. I represent 2/3 of the Texas-Mexico border. I represent El Paso, which is right next to New Mexico. And what would happen is people would literally look for these cartels, these criminal organizations would look for the New Mexico line, and they would travel. They would send people through New Mexico because it was free reign instead of Texas. So clearly, there's been a lot of people that haven't been doing their job. I want to look past that. I want to go, hey, look, that was then, this is now. How do we all come together and make our communities safe. It should be a pretty simple ask. It starts with mayors, though. It starts at the local level. I know, in Washington, we're trying to do our part, but at the local level, people have to be safe. And you can't be releasing people. You can't be protecting criminals. We have to go after these illegal aliens with everything we got, and we have to make our communities safe again.
It's going to be a fight. Sir, thank you for your time.
Great to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Tony
Bill.
Gonzalez.
Thank you, Dana.